Right now, while you're watching this, you think you're in control. You chose to click on this video. You chose what to eat this morning. You chose what to wear. Every moment of your day feels like a series of choices. Choices you made. Deliberately. Consciously. You. Here's the problem. In 1983, a scientist named Benjamin Libet wired people's brains up to an EEG machine. He asked them to do one simple thing: flex their wrist. Whenever they felt like it. No countdown, no signal. Just whenever. He tracked two things simultaneously: the moment their brain showed electrical activity, and the moment they became consciously aware of deciding. He expected the awareness to come first. You decide. Then your brain acts. That's how it's supposed to work. That is not what happened. The brain was already preparing the movement, up to 550 milliseconds before the person was aware. Half a second. It sounds small. In neuroscience, it is enormous. The body was already moving before the mind knew it wanted to. Libet had caught the human brain in a lie. And the lie wasn't small. It was everything. Now, before you close this tab, the instinct is to look for the loophole. Okay, but I could have stopped myself. Even if the brain started the movement, I could veto it. And Libet actually tested this too. In a narrow window between brain and action, there is something like a veto. We are not passengers exactly, but we are not drivers either. We are something closer to an editor, not the author, not the one with the original idea, just the one with the red pen at the end. Your brain processes 11 million bits of information per second. Sound, light, temperature, pressure, smell. 11 million bits. Every single second. Your conscious mind can handle about 40 of them. The other 10,999,960 bits are being processed right now, silently, without your knowledge, shaping what you want, what you fear, who you trust, what feels right, what feels wrong, your preferences, your personality, your entire sense of who you are, and you have almost no access to any of it. The psychologist Timothy Wilson spent decades studying this gap, the gap between the unconscious and our conscious self-narrative. What he found was deeply unsettling. We don't have access to the real reasons behind our choices. When we try to explain them, we make things up, fluently, confidently, completely unconsciously. We are not lying. We genuinely believe our own explanations. We just have no idea that we invented them. There is a surgical procedure called a corpus callosotomy. It is used for severe epilepsy. Surgeons cut the connection between the left and right hemispheres. The patients are, for all purposes, functional. They hold conversations. They go about their lives. You would not know anything was different by looking. But in the lab, you can show each hemisphere something the other can't see. Flash the word walk to the right hemisphere. The patient stands up and starts walking. Then you ask them, "Why are you walking?" The left hemisphere didn't see the word. It has no idea. But it does not say, "I don't know." It answers immediately, confidently. I felt like stretching my legs. It made something up on the spot, delivered it with complete conviction, and had no awareness it had just invented a story about itself. Neuroscientists call this the interpreter, the part of the left brain that takes whatever just happened and constructs a narrative that makes it feel intentional, coherent, authored. You have one of these too. It is running right now. So here's the question nobody wants to sit with. If the decision happens before the awareness, and the awareness constructs a story after the fact, then what exactly is the you that you think is in charge? Philosophers have been circling this for centuries. David Hume looked inward trying to find a self. All he found was a bundle of perceptions, nothing underneath. Buddhist philosophy had been saying this for 2,000 years before him. The self is not a thing. It is a process, a story a brain tells itself to create the feeling of continuity. Modern neuroscience is arriving at the same place from a completely different direction. Antonio Damasio spent his career studying patients with specific brain damage. Their reasoning was intact but disconnected from emotion. His expectation was that they'd make better decisions without emotional interference. They couldn't make decisions at all. They would sit in front of 2 appointment times and deliberate for hours. They could not choose a restaurant. They could not choose which pen to write with. Without the emotional signal from the body, the machinery of choice simply stalled. You don't think your way to a decision. You feel your way there. and then explain it in words. Every system of law on Earth is built on the assumption of free will. You did something. You chose to do it. Therefore, you are responsible. Libet's research has never been resolved by the legal system. It has been quietly shelved because the implications are too large to absorb. If the choice happens before the awareness, what exactly are we punishing? The impulse that arose from genetics, childhood, environment, 100,000 variables the person never chose. The neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky spent 40 years studying the biology of human behavior. He concluded there is no behavior that isn't the product of everything that came before it. Every choice is the end of a chain. Pull the chain back far enough, and you eventually reach things nobody chose. Your genes, your upbringing, the architecture of your nervous system, the culture you were born into. He is not saying this to let people off the hook. He is saying this because the evidence doesn't leave room for any other conclusion. And yet, here's the part that Libet himself never forgot. The veto is real, that narrow window between impulse and action. Libet believed that was enough. Not enough to make us the authors of our desires, but enough to make us something. Something that can observe the machinery. Something that can catch the pattern. Every contemplative tradition in human history arrived at this from the inside. Buddhism, Stoicism, Vedantic philosophy, Sufism, all of them independently concluded the same thing. You cannot control what arises, but you can control what you do with it. The space between stimulus and response is where everything that matters actually lives. Libet found it in a lab in 1983 with electrodes and a clock. They found it thousands of years earlier just by sitting quietly and paying attention. The most honest thing neuroscience has given us is not the news that we are not in control. The pause, the breath before the word, the moment before the moment is real. It is small, but it is yours. And it might be the only thing that ever was.